Welcome back to Kidding Around. My name is Melanie Smith, and I am thrilled that you are here with me for another Thoughtful Thursday. Today we're going to be talking about voting and celebrating the people that use their voices to make sure that this world is a better place tomorrow than it was yesterday. Before we do that, though, if you like what you're seeing here and want to follow along with all of Kidding Around's videos, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also below each video, click the thumbs up button. Thank you very much. So moving on to voting. I realize that not everyone who watches this video lives in the United States, and that means that some of the things that we talk about here won't be directly impactful to you. However, we are going to have some fun and we're going to make some confetti poppers, so I hope you'll stick around with us. I also hope that you take this opportunity to learn about your government system and figure out how the best way is to make sure that your voice is heard, to make sure that tomorrow is better than today for not only you, but the generations that follow you. In the United States, we have a pretty important election coming up. It happens every 4 years, and it's for the office of president. So, every 4 years, on the first Tuesday in November, people are able to place their votes for who they want to run our country for the next 4 years. This year, our election will be taking place on November 3rd, and there are two main candidates. There's Donald Trump, who's the current president, and then there's Joe Biden, who is running against him. So registered voters, who are people who are over 18 and are American citizens, can go to the polls and they decide who gets to be the leader for the next 4 years. This book, Grace for President, is a great book that explains how the American electoral system works. I highly recommend that you read it. It's not our standout story day, so I'm not going to be reading it to you, but it's a great, great book, and it explains how the whole system works. In addition to explaining how the system works, it also talks a little bit about how important it is to cast our vote. This is a civic duty, a responsibility for everyone who can to place their votes to make sure that the things that they want for the country are heard. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone who votes will get their way, but it is important to make sure that you're telling everyone the way you want things to go. So, in that vein, we are going to make a little celebratory prop so that if people in your house vote, you are able to celebrate that after they place their votes. This is kind of a unique election. Most people usually vote on the second Tuesday. They go to their polling place and they're able to place their votes right then and there. But this year, because of a lot of things that are going on in the world, lots of people are able to place their votes early, and lots of people are able to mail their votes in. So it may be that you have an adult in your household who has already voted, or who will be voting very soon. But the process is still the same. Your voice still counts just as much no matter how you vote. So it's important to really support the adults in your household and encourage them to vote and make sure that their voices are heard, because your future depends on their voice today. So you've probably seen this image of Uncle Sam before. He's kind of the personification of the United States government. He wants you to make sure that you are doing all you can to make sure that the country is moving in the right direction. So we are going to be honoring Uncle Sam today and the United States government that he represents. We're also going to be celebrating the fact that that government gives its citizens, once they turn 18, a voice in how the country is run. We're going to be doing that by making this fun little Uncle Sam hat. It also has a fun surprise in it. It is filled with confetti, and it has this popper at the bottom that you are going to be able to use to pop the confetti out at the right moment. I think that right moment might be right after you hear that the adults in your household have voted. And if there's a reason that they can't vote, the right moment might be the night of the election when you know who the next president is. So in order to make this craft, you will need a few supplies. You will need a small cardboard tube. This one was used for toilet paper. You'll need a 2-inch by 5-inch piece of blue construction paper, a 5-inch by 6-inch piece of red construction paper, and 2 pieces of white construction paper, also 5 inches by 6 inches. You'll also need a piece of red tissue paper that is just big enough to go over the top of your cardboard tube with a little bit of hangover like that. You'll need some scrap pieces of construction paper. They can really be any color. We'll use this to make our confetti. I'm using red and blue in this one. You'll also need a balloon. This again can be any color as well. It's going to be the popper in our confetti popper. I'm using blue. I think it's kind of fun to use red, white, or blue because it goes along with our red, white, and blue theme, but really, truly, it can be any color you'd like. You'll also need a hole punch, some scissors, and then to measure your paper, you'll need a ruler and a pencil. Mine's already measured, so you won't see me using that, but you can use that to measure. You'll need a glue stick, and it seems like probably you'll also need a little bit of white glue. I think you can get along without the white glue if you don't have any, but these little strips on the hat seem to kind of need some of that white glue to help them stick. And then you'll also need the top of a plastic cup, about this size. It should be able to go straight down on your white piece of paper, and you should be able to trace all the way around the outside of that cup. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing that you'll be doing is making the top of Uncle Sam's hat here. This is really just to keep in the confetti until it's time to make it explode, okay? So what we'll be doing is taking the glue stick and very liberally, that means not sparing any, that means using a lot of glue, we'll be putting some glue around the top edge, and then we'll be taking our tissue paper and kind of straightening it out as much as possible, and then wrapping it down around the top of the cardboard tube. So it should look just like that. Then we're going to take our white piece of paper and we're going to roll this tube in it. So again, very liberally, using a lot of glue, we're going to start a little bit of a glue line, and then we are going to roll the white paper all along the cardboard tube. Because the cardboard tube is round and because the paper wants to lay flat, it's going to take a little bit of squishing and holding and a whole lot of glue. So make sure you use the time to do that, because otherwise you're going to have your paper popping off your tube before you want it to. So I'm just squishing there. I'm holding it tight for a couple seconds. Once I feel like it's going to stay on its own, I'm going to set that aside as I prepare my red piece of paper. And in fact, I'm going to put the seam of the paper down on the bottom of the table. That way the weight of the cardboard tube will kind of help it stay stuck. All right, then I'm going to take my red paper and I'm going to cut the stripes for this hat. So I'm going to cut along the short side to make the stripes. If it's easier for you to draw the lines first and then cut along those lines, feel free to do that. Whatever is easiest for you. And you can make really truly as many stripes as you want. I'm going to make 4 today. You can make 4, 5, 6, 3, however many you want to. So the way to do this, to get them stuck, is to, again, using a lot of glue and making sure to get the ends glued. Go ahead, lay the glue down, and then put the stripe on top of the paper. So I'll do that again. I'm going to really put some glue on the ends of the paper because those ends are where they're going to pop up first. And then I just stick my finger in the edge of the tube and I run my fingers along the stripe to make sure that it sticks as much as possible. Like I said, once this is all done, you may need to run some white glue underneath, just on the ends to make sure that they stay stuck. All right, and one more strip. And there we go. My strips aren't really even, I see. You can really take your time and make sure they're even, or you can decide it doesn't matter. It's your hat, it's up to you. All right, so once I have that, it kind of looks like an opposite Dr. Seuss hat, doesn't it? I'm going to take my blue, and again, just the same way, I'm going to glue it and wrap it around. I see here that I grabbed the wrong size paper, So I'll pull out the right size paper that I had initially cut for this. I had two ends and I cut off the wrong, or I grabbed the wrong end right here for my example. So I'm going to really make sure that I get the glue on the edges, but then I'm also going to get some glue here in the middle. Again, glue is king in this project, or should we say glue is president, or glue is Uncle Sam. I don't know, what do you think? All right, so then I'm going to stick it the same way. Just really pushing it down, making contact. And you know what? I see that these strips are already popping up. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of white glue there. That'll stick a little bit better. And once it's dry, it will definitely keep your stripes on better. So just as you see it's necessary, you can go ahead and do that. Okay. So then I am going to take my cup and I'm going to trace around the top lip of it. This is going to be the brim of Uncle Sam's hat. So I've got that, and then I will cut around the circle. Again, this does not have to be perfect. As with all of our crafts, nothing has to be perfect. It needs to be close, and that's about it. Then I am going to put my cardboard tube in the middle of the white circle, and I'm going to trace around it as well. Okay, and you can see that I kind of squeezed that cardboard tube as I was drawing around. It may be a little bit easier for you if you can get right up on top of it. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. And in fact, this should be just a little bit bigger. This hole should be just a little bit bigger than the cardboard tube. So I am going to make sure that the lines that I drew are on the inside of my cut, because that will allow for the entire hole to be bigger. This, you can clearly tell, does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be a rough circle. Okay, then comes the really, really fun part in making our confetti. You're going to take your hole punch and start punching holes. I find it is easier to use a little strip of paper about this size, because then the hole punch can get on both sides and can make the most use of the paper for the confetti. So like you can see right there, that's about as far as my hole punch will go, but then I can turn it around and I can use the other side almost all the way to the edge. It looks like this paper was just a little bit too thick, but you can see I'm not going to have much wasted paper there as I continue to make my confetti. So you clip out as much confetti as you want to. I've actually pre-made some confetti that we'll be using, so you don't have to just sit there and watch me make all my confetti that we'll be using. So I'll just scoop that up here. And again, make sure that you're being a responsible crafter. So when you make this confetti, make sure that if any gets down on the floor or is left on the table, that you go back and clean it up before the adults in your house have to clean it behind you. You don't want to do that, right? You're going to be responsible. I know you are. Okay, so once you have your confetti made, go ahead and turn your hat over and then drop all of that confetti inside. There we go. Then I'm going to take this balloon and I am going to cut just kind of the tip of it off. Just about that much. Not much at all. And then I'm going to tie it like I would tie any balloon. It's a little easier to tie a balloon that isn't full of air, but I'm sure that you can find an adult to help you if you need help with that tie. Once it's tied, you're going to go ahead and open it, open the other end, and you're going to put that just over the end of your hat. So this is the side that someone would wear if it were an actual hat. And then once you have that done, you will take your white ring and you will very gently kind of squish that balloon and that tube through that center hole, just like that. And just like that, you have your hat. But it's full of confetti, and you definitely want to use that confetti, right? To celebrate whoever voted in your house, or to celebrate at the end of an election, seeing how important those elections are. So the way that you do that is you first need to tear the top of this hat. That was to keep the confetti in, right? Remember when we said that? And then with all of the confetti down at the bottom of this balloon as much as possible, you hold this balloon. So wherever it's touching the tube, you're going to be holding it with your thumb and your middle finger, or your thumb and your index finger. And then the confetti's down in the bottom. You're going to pull this and let it go out the other side. All right, so you're gonna go 1, 2, 3, woohoo! You voted! Congratulations! And then, of course, well, first off, I should say you should probably only do this outside. And then, of course, you should make sure to clean it up. So take that broom with you when you go outside, okay? All right, I hope you've had fun on this Thoughtful Thursday, thinking of others and being excited for them as they vote. Even though you're not old enough to vote yet, you absolutely can take part in the process and make sure that this country is a great place to live. So thanks so much for joining me. I have had a ton of fun making this confetti celebration popper with you. Remember to keep encouraging people that you know that are able to vote. I would love to see your confetti and your confetti videos. I hope that you understand the impact that you have, even right now, before you are old enough to vote, by celebrating the people who vote around you. And then I also hope that once you turn 18, you understand the impact of those votes that you are able to cast yourself. It's a very important responsibility, and I know that you are up to the challenge. Thanks so much for kidding around with me. I'll see you next time.